Well, I think that the lesson of 1989 is that we want three things. One is stability and regional cooperation, which in the case of the former captive nations we did by expanding the EU and NATO and trying to make sure that arguments between, for example, Slovakia and Hungary were settled rather than getting worse. The second thing is consolidating democracy, having contested elections, rule of law, fighting corruption, all these things. And then the third is economic integration. Now, I think the first two, the first and third of these are going to be easier than the second one. These are not countries that have a history of democracy, and we see very clearly in the evolution of the ex-communist countries that having a pre-war, pre-communist history of the rule of law and some kind of political contestability has a big influence on the way countries evolve even 50 years later. So I think we should probably focus on the first and the third. The first is trying to encourage regional cooperation, which means making sure that Morocco and Algeria are talking to each other, that Libya has better relations with its neighbours. This region is not a monolith. It's full of countries that have very difficult issues with each other, and we need to try and make sure that the new countries, the new leaderships in these countries certainly don't have worse relationships than the old ones. And obviously that's particularly important with regard to Israel. And then the third thing, number three, is the economic integration. And again, we can do a lot on that. We need to make it clear that we're not going to take a protectionist attitude to these countries. We want to use the Mediterranean partnership where we can to deepen trade, increase economic cooperation, and then hope that with those, the first and the third things, like a sandwich, then the second one will maybe come in the middle.